Welcome to our bi-monthly, semi-monthly, I don't even know how you say it, Zoom. I'm super excited today. We're talking all about the power of productivity. And this is something that I am not a scientist on, but something really, really awesome that I got as like for Earning Success Club last month was a webinar with Mel Robbins, who wrote the 5-Second Rule, which is the book that we're reading now with all of Inspired Joy. Cat just got home. And she did a webinar for all of the Beachbody coaches who got Success Club last month, all about like productivity, because that's literally what she spent the last 10 years of her life learning about and studying the science of it. So if you're not already reading the 5-Second Rule, I highly, highly recommend it. We do like an Inspired Joy monthly book club. It's in a separate Facebook group, and every day we kind of just share takeaways on a chapter, and this is the book we chose for this month. I had already read it once before, and I'm reading it again and getting so many incredible takeaways, so highly recommend. But I'm going to share with you guys essentially what she shared with us, and then I'm also going to talk about how I implement those things into my business and my life. So hopefully you guys will get some takeaways. If you do not already have a note and note-taking device, I know Rebecca and Natasha are on it. Make sure you grab that. Cool. So first of all, productivity. It's so important in our lives, right? Like literally being productive with the time and intentional with the time we have. I know that when I first started coaching, I was like, what do I do? Like there's so many things, and I just felt like the overwhelm was setting in. And I just want to remind you that you have 24 hours. Beyonce has 24 hours. Like if Beyonce can do the shit that she does in her 24-hour window, you can too. And granted, Beyonce's a celebrity and probably has a little more like chill free time than like maybe the rest of us busy gals do. But my point is that if you have an hour chunk, you can be really intentional with that hour versus just scrolling and not really knowing what you're doing, right? And so my goal is that you leave here today feeling more empowered with your time, that you have a direct, like fully understood session of, okay, this is what I'm going to do with my power hour every single day. And these are some tools that I can use when I'm not feeling productive, when I'm feeling tired, when I'm feeling drained, when I'm feeling exhausted, because that happens because we're human. And instead of using that as an excuse to just like not do shit and not move our lives forward, I want to empower you to use that as a reason to propel your life into productivity and propel your life into joy, right? And if you're doing coaching, right, it should be fun, right? It might be scary sometimes, it might be hard sometimes, but it should be fun. Like find the joy in it. So that's what I'm hoping that you get out of this today. So Mel talked about 5 big things that she implements that are in the science of productivity. These are tools you can start like implementing into your life right now. And so I'm going to share those first. So the first one is no phone in the bedroom. Cool. The reason why this is important, number one, the phone and social media and our world is so easily like an easy distraction, right? You probably have like a billion push notifications coming to your phone or your computer every single day. And when you are like constantly inundated with that, your brain is working on autopilot. And she was talking about it, and it's something called an attention economy, which you can Google and look up. I'm sure she has like research papers on that. But I thought it was really interesting that like that literally like the first thing most people do when they wake up in the morning is check their email. Like she was saying the stats are on that, and I was just so blown away because and honestly, like I did that for a really long time. It's the first thing I got out of bed, I checked my Instagram or I checked Facebook. And when we are constantly bombarding ourselves, we're not allowing our brain the space to kind of take in what's happening, like absorb our day, show up with intention, and then intentionally go into social media because that's a part of what we do, right? So having no phone in the bedroom literally means that we don't have that ability for a distraction. Now, I know you're going to be like, okay, but my phone's my alarm clock. I know I said that too. So instead of, if you want to keep your phone in the bedroom, put it somewhere that's far enough away so that you have to literally get out of bed. And her whole thing is the 5-second rule is you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch. And so every time that you're feeling like you can't get out of bed, and that's kind of how she started doing it, was trying to get out of bed in the morning. And she would just wake up, her alarm would go off, and she would say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then one foot would be out the bed and ready to go. And I think that's a tool that you should apply in all things. Anytime you're scared, anytime you feel like you're going to say something you don't really mean in your life, but you know, you're just running, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How should I approach this? Or anytime you're scared to invite somebody to your group, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Anytime you're, you know, nervous about reaching out to somebody about coaching and you think they'd be a great coach, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, send. And that personally has been a tool I've used a lot. So highly recommend just even using it. You don't have to read the book to use the tool, but counting back from your brain, it literally takes your nervous system and your insecurities and your thoughts and your doubts, and it flips it on its side and it puts everything into the prefrontal cortex, which is where you're going to launch to. So it's really cool. And if you're a science nerd like I am, you'll dig that. So yeah, no phone in the bedroom, or if you do have the phone, put it on airplane mode before you go to bed and put it somewhere where you have to literally get out of bed to get it. Number 2, get out of bed the second the alarm goes off. Do not press snooze. There have been studies that show that there is literally how you wake up impacts your productivity for up to 4 hours. 4 hours. Isn't that crazy? That blew my mind anyways. And I was like, shit, like, so, and Kev he can vouch for me, but literally I do not press snooze anymore. Like my alarm goes off and I am out of bed. It was not like something I thought I could do. I was not always a person getting up at 5:45 in the morning, but I can truly tell you, like, over the summer when I was teaching full time, I was up at 5 a.m. every day. I did not press snooze, and it was a game changer for my productivity. I got so much done in my power hour, and then I didn't have to do anything else the rest of the day. So I believe it when she says that, like, how you get up makes all the difference. So get out of bed the second the alarm goes off. Number 3, this is something she called the Take 5, and it's essentially 5 minutes as soon as you're awake where you sit down and you plan your day. And this is something that I have started doing as soon as I kind of come back and I finish walking Toby, and I'll sit and I'll take my planner out and I'll say, okay, what's my day look like today? And something I also do, which I'll share with you guys afterwards, or I guess I'll share it now. Something I also do is I take the 24/7 calendar that we have, and I plan out my entire week. I literally block out when I'm going to be working my business, when I'm going to be teaching, when I'm going to my auditions, when I'm at rehearsals, and everything is laid out there so I can see, oh, I have some window here. I'm going to work on creating content. Or, oh, I have some window here. I'm going to take some time for me and like do a coloring book or something. So I think having that from the get-go for the week is super, super important. So making that a Sunday date with yourself where you can take 30 minutes and just get a gauge of the week. And then every morning you can take a look at that and say, okay, what's on my docket for today? And then you can plan your day out and say, like, look at it and say, okay, what are some things that I know I need to get done? And just brain dumping that right off the bat is so key, because then your brain isn't focusing on trying to remember all the things it needs to remember to do for that day. It can focus on actually like being present or being creative or whatever it is that you need. So that's number 3. So far we have no phone in the bedroom, get out of bed the second the alarm goes off, and take 5, sit down and plan your day. Now, the next thing is called pick one thing. So of the things that you've just taken your day and you go, okay, this is what I need to work on. So for example, for my business today, I want to work on setting up my free group, and I want to work on, writing content for that. And I want to work on preparing for a call tonight. Okay. For like, or a prospect call, whatever. So you're going to pick one thing that you're going to pour all your energy into in the time that you have, okay? Because there's something called the Zyngard effect, which you talked about, and it's where your mind reminds you more of the things you haven't done versus the things you have done. So if you're actually focusing on one thing and you get it done, your mind then has less shit to think about. So if you pick one thing, so for example, what of those 3 things is the first thing that's most important, okay? My free groups tomorrow, I have to make sure that stuff is ready and Hootsuite'd or scheduled in Facebook, so I'm gonna do that. Then your mind can focus on that thing, you do it, and then if you still have time, check box, cool, then you do the next thing that's the most important. I also call this my big 3. So I do this at the top of every week as I go, okay, my focus for the week is blah. And so I have like 1, 2, or 3 things. For example, last week my focus was launching my 80-day obsession round 2 group, and like not launching it, but like opening it up for registration and like creating the content for that. It also was running my sneak peek because I wanted to make sure I was bringing in new coaches for this month. And then I was working on my ebook that I'm building right now. So those are my 3 focuses this past week. And so every day I did something kind of towards that. So if that resonates more with you too, you can also take the big 3 approach, which is something Gary Vee taught at Summit 2 years ago. If you don't know who Gary Vee is, he's a motivational speaker. He's crazy, but he's great. He's very masculine energy, but he's super awesome. And then the last thing, number 5, she calls it decide when you're going to quit working. I call it set boundaries. This is so important because your brain will literally allow for something to take up a certain amount of time. So if you are like, I'm going to work on this indefinitely, it's going to take you an indefinite amount of time to work on it. Or if you say, I'm just going to take the day and I'm going to work on it, it's going to take you that whole time to get it done. Whereas if you say, I have an hour, I'm going to work on sending out as many invites to my challenge group as I possibly can in the next hour. It's going to take you an hour to get 50 invites done, or however many you say you want to do, right? So giving yourself a deadline and a set boundary of I'm done working at this time, even if you haven't done all the things that you wanted to do, making sure that you're setting those boundaries for yourself so you're not working into the crazy late hours, or you're not just scrolling mindlessly on Instagram, all that stuff. So as a reminder, no phone in the bedroom, get out of bed the second the alarm goes off. Take 5, sit down and plan your day. Pick one thing to focus on and really, really dive into that. Decide when you're going to quit working, aka set boundaries. Cool. Any questions so far about any of those things? You can unmute yourself if you want, since it's just the 3 of us.
When you pick 3 things, do you pick just 3 things in general, like in your whole life, or do you pick 3 things for Beachbody, 3 things for teaching, whatever, you know?
Yeah, good question. I guess for me, it's business related. So right now my business is Beachbody, but also I'm focusing on our Empowered and Free event stuff, and also focusing on building an ebook for my audience. So I guess it's just business for me. But I say whatever feels good to you, try it, see how it works for a week. And if you don't love that, then switch. And it's all about I have found that everything in this world as an entrepreneur, it's all about just trying shit. And what's going to look good and feel good on me isn't necessarily going to do that for you. So yeah, try it all the way and see how that goes. If that doesn't feel good, just do a Beachbody one and go from there. Cool. Natasha, any questions?
No questions. It's just, this is like perfect timing, as I have let the overwhelm set in for sure this last week. And it's nice to just sit down, remind myself that this is totally something that I can tackle. I just, have to do these things again. I was doing really well with them for a minute, and then it's so easy to let something kind of take over. And this is just it's nice to have an action plan, intentional, important, 5 steps. That's 5 is easy. It's something that you can manage. So it's really perfect timing.
And I'm so glad you said that too, because, and for all of you guys watching the recording, it is so normal to feel those thoughts and to think to yourself, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't have time for this, or, your body is literally programmed to try to hinder you from growing and succeeding. That's why these tools and navigating through it and just pushing through it and saying I'm going to go through this and I'm going to do it because I know it's important. It's like our fitness journey, right? We have to give ourselves grace when we're injured, right? Or when we physically are unable. But a lot of the time it's just our brain that's telling us we can't do another rep, or I can't do those those donkey kicks. And it's hell no, Amanda, you can do these donkey kicks, and you have done them for the past 3 weeks like a freaking crazy person. You're scared of going upside down, legit. But that's also something my brain has told me, and I've created this story for myself. And what's so cool is that we literally have the power over our thoughts, right? That's what's awesome. And if you're feeling that way, dive into PD, because PD is the key to being able to get out of that mindset and going, no, you've got this, you can do this. And if you're not starting your day with personal development every single day, wake up 15 minutes earlier than you normally would and start your day that way, because it's such a game changer. So it's totally normal that you're feeling that way. I'm so glad you said that, because I know I felt that way. I feel that way too still all the time. I'm like, who am I? Like, why, how am I leading people? Like, what? But you just have to keep doing it. You have to keep showing up and believing in what your why is and holding that at like the forefront of your brain always. So I'm super proud of you both. Anyways, moving on. All right. So that's the overarching like productivity. That's what Mel talked about. And I think it's so key to also remember that like sometimes we're going to want to be productive and still not be, and that's okay. And something that I have been doing lately is creating like a folder on my desktop for all the wins that I've had along Beachbody. So whether it's a recognition post, I'll screenshot it and I'll put it in this folder, or any of my challenger wins. Like every time someone shares a non-scale victory, I screenshot that shit and I put it in this folder. Any transformation pictures, anytime my coaches have like really done incredible things or like hit Success Club that month for their first time, like I screenshot everything and I put it in this folder and I call it my impact board. Okay. And you can print it out if you're a visual person, or you can keep it on your folder if you don't have space on your wall like me. But when you're having a day where you're like, I just feel frustrated, or even if you're, newer to coaching, you don't have like a bunch of transformation photos, like the things that you're seeing in your groups that you're running, or your own personal transformations that you've had, like keep those in this folder or on this board. And anytime that you're having those self like doubts or those thoughts where you're like, I don't know if I can do this, or gosh, I'm so frustrated, like how am I supposed to like reach out to somebody today, like I'm not in a good headspace, look at that impact board and go through all those things and set it as a reminder that you are meant to be here and you are freaking worthy. And no matter what the doubts that are in your head, like you are able to overcome those and make an impact, right? That's what we're here for. It's making an impact with one person, with 20 people, who cares? Like the point is that we're here to make an impact. And when you keep that in the forefront of your brain, I think it makes so much more magic. And it's been a huge gift for me. So definitely recommend doing that. And use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like anytime you get a rejection or someone says no, you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, impact board. Oh, right. Cool. I don't need them, but I have all these people, right? Or I don't need them because I have this inside of me, or whatever it is. So cool. All right, now I'm going to walk you guys through power hours or power pockets. So I feel like this is constantly in flow, but something that is working for me really well right now is the system. So I'm going to share it with you guys, and obviously you have to tweak it to what works for you. And so use it with a grain of salt, but whether you have a power hour or 2 power pockets that you're like plugging into your business, there are really 4 areas that you need to be doing. And for me, a power hour is not your workout. It's not drinking Shaco. It's not personal development. That should be outside of your power hour. Your power hour is business focused 100%. So what my power hour has been looking like lately is 4 15-minute blocks. And I like to do it all in an hour because I just like to do it and get it done first thing. I go into it having already done my workout, having already read my personal development. I have not turned on my phone. I have not been scrolling Instagram. I do my affirmations, and then I sit down to my power hour. And I have a set timer. I go, hey Siri, set a timer for 15 minutes. He's gonna do it. Don't do it, Siri.
Roger that.
Okay. He did it. Anyways. And so I do that, and then I sit down. And for my first 15 minutes, I create content for my social media post of the day. Right now, you guys, you don't need to be doing more than 1 a day on your Instagram. Okay? Literally 1 piece of content. And if you need some inspiration of what to say, like check out the girls on our team. They're killing it. Like go to my page, go to Jess's page, like go to Anna's page. Like Rebecca, you're killing the Instagram game. Like amazing. Like, but make sure you're showing up every day, because that shows your audience that you are consistent. And that is super important, because they're not going to want to get on board with somebody and trust somebody with their health and their happiness if they're not consistent. And if Instagram's not your thing, Facebook, whatever. But 1 social media post a day. And then you try to be 5 to 7 videos or pictures on Insta stories, because Insta stories are huge right now. And there are they've done a whole bunch of figuring out who spends more time on what, and Insta stories 110% is 5 to 7, or I try to do 7 to 12. on Insta stories. And that's where most people are hanging out on Instagram. So if Instagram is your game right now, try to be on there. Share your shit, like share that you're working out, like share little bits of that, and then be motivational along the way, but also like share who you are. You can go on and do a pep talk. People really love videos. You can also like do weird things with your dog like I do, or whatever it is that like is in your buckets, right? Is your thing. So definitely social media though. So I spent my first 15 minutes. I've already like centered myself. I've done all my PD. I have either I'll share a thought from my personal development that it like shared, or if I'm feeling super like anti-diet Amanda, then I go in that world. Or if I'm really nerding out on nutrition, I'll talk about that. But it's whatever fills my heart. And then I post a picture based off of all my pictures that are on my phone, and I just share one and call it good. So that's social media. And then the next 15 minutes I spend on building new connections, or what I like to call love bombs. So I try to get 10 in a day of new interactions with people that I've never connected with on Instagram before. So whether they're people that liked my pictures, I usually start with people that like my pictures, new followers, people that are watching my stories, because you can actually see who watches your stories. If you go into like, you tap on your own stories, you can see underneath. And then if I can't find 10 through that, then I'll find a follower that I really love and resonate with their message, and I'll go look at their followers, or I'll go look at the people that have responded on their comments of their pictures. And my goal is to get 10 every day. I spend 15 minutes and 10 quality connections. And I use like words that I say all the time. I'm pretty sure that I shared my initial scripts with you guys for this in our page. So check the file section in our Live Your Yes Life team page. If not, I'll share it again. But essentially it's just like, hey, like, thank you so much for following. Like, I love the picture of your dog. Like, what's their name? Or I'll say something like, if they're totally new, I'll be like, hey, I found you on Instagram, and I just have to say, like, I love your positive vibes. I just feel like your story is so inspirational. Then I'll ask them a question. So I don't like go pretty long. It's super short. And I keep it pretty the same thing to every person. I just say, hey, Bianca, or hey, Sam, and then go on from there. I don't feel like going into it with a lot of specific like messaging to them is super important the first time around, because a lot of the time I don't get responses. And so I'm not trying to like build a connection with them if they're not going to build one back with me, if that makes sense. So just keep it simple. Work smarter, not harder. So 10, if you can get that done, is my next 15 minutes. And then 15 minutes after that is when I do direct invitations. So whether that is to whatever I'm doing. So last week I was inviting to my sneak peek. This week I'm starting to invite to our 80-day obsession group in April, which PS, I'm running an entire team-wide 80-day obsession group starting April 23rd. That's the Monday. So if you would like to co-coach or, be alongside of that, like literally everyone in our entire downline can bring people in. So if you know that you have people who want to specifically do this program, I'm going to be running an April one outside of it that's just not program specific, and also an April 80-day obsession group. So if you want to co-coach, like, you are 100% welcome. Just let me know, and I guess comment on the video in our group once you are done. And yeah, I invite. I usually try to get at least 5 invitations in a day. But the other day I did 20 because I was really excited. So, and again, like, there are invitation scripts that we use and that we've shared in the file section. So use those. Like, don't overthink it. Make sure it sounds like you, like something that would come from your words. But it doesn't have to be super crazy inventive every time, because that's where a lot of time is lost. And then the last 15 minutes, I will go into my challenge groups. I will check into the app, and I'll share my pictures from my workout and my Shake-Go. And then I'll go into my challenge groups, and I will comment on everybody's thing from the day before, and I will check in myself or whatever. And that's my intentional time with that. And that way I'm really giving back to my clients and my coaches and everyone who's a part of that. So yeah, that's my power hour. You can split that up into 2 sections. What I recommend is looking at those 4 things. And if you're going to implement those, do the thing that scares you the most first. I said it. Yeah. And so put that first and then do the thing that scares you the second most after that. Right. And that way it's done for the day and you've gotten it out. And it'll just get easier as you go. Cool. So that's my system, you guys. That's how I show up every week for my productivity. This is what's working for me right now. So I hope that this resonates with you and that you can take some things away. So any questions about that so far? And then we can dive in a little bit to where you guys are at.
Oh, sorry, my dogs are about to bark. When you check in on Insta stories, do you do that 5 to 7 times a week or per day?
Per day.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and the Insta Stories clips are like 15 seconds.
Right.
So it's like half the time it's like 3-hour workout ones from the morning, or I'll be like, you guys, it's so early. I mean, you guys watch my Insta Stories, so you know. But yeah, and like sharing parts. Like today, I talked about anxiety because I was really feeling anxious earlier today, and I think sharing all the parts of you that are within your buckets is super, super important because it shows everybody you're a grounded person. You're not just like a fitness robot or whatever, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, and when we talked about Insta stories, when we did Inspire Joy team call, I think Anna was talking about or somebody was talking about how it's like an extension of your About Me section too. It's like a really
100%.
great way to kind of like, the posts are really intentional and not necessarily scripted, but like you take a lot of time to think about what you want to post. But with the Insta stories, it can be a little more fun and like kind of just letting people know who you are as a coach and as a person. So I really liked that comparison.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and people want to get to know you. It's like a reality TV. That's kind of how I see it. Why is everyone obsessed with The Bachelor, right? Or a reality TV show. Because you're seeing people at their vulnerable. Like you're seeing their day-to-day. You're seeing like their true thoughts, right? And so it's like you're going on Insta stories and you're just showing parts of you that are your true day. Like when I go to the dog park with Toby, like they see the goofiness that is that, you know? Or like me in the morning just like being a crazy grout fit, like living in my sweatpants, you know, it's like that's who I am. And if you can't get with that, then we're probably not going to like make good, you know, coach to client or coach to coach relationship. So yeah, it's super, super important because you build that trust that way. And you can also then see who's watching. And so then you have like a reason to reach out and be like, girl, I see you creeping on my Insta stories. Like, are we soul sisters? You know, and then that builds that connection or that bond too. So any other questions? Okay. All right. We're going to dive into some more one-on-one stuff. So I want you guys to quickly jot this down, and everyone watching too, who's not currently on live. I want you to think about, where am I falling short of my goals? And I'm going to do this too. I'm going to give us 2 minutes and we're going to think to ourselves, okay, where am I falling short of my goals right now? Yes, I just said short. I did not mean that, y'all. Okay. And then once you've found like a couple of things that you feel like you're falling short on, I want you to ask yourself why. Why am I falling short on these things? Okay. And we're going to share these. Yeah. So I want you to pick one of the things. It doesn't have to be all the things that you said they're falling short on. I want you to pick one thing that you feel like where you're falling short on your goals. I want you to share that and then talk about why, and we'll talk about it. Who wants to go first? I'm going to share too.
I can go.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that I'm falling short in doing those, like, some of the vital behaviors every day. Like, I'm working out and I'm doing my Shaco, but getting in, like, personal development reading every day and making new connections and things. Like, I've found stints I'll do a little bit more on some days, but I'm not yet doing it every day. And I think the reason why is because when I do go in to start working on different things, I'm not always working on the most important thing first. I kind of get, like, stuck. Yeah, I get sidetracked. And so while I'm still working on something, maybe for Beachbody or for whatever it is, I'm no longer, like, where my focus was. So I'm just kind of going off.
So what do you think you can implement that will help you get out of that?
Well, I think having this kind of, like, breakdown of power hour is really helpful to start with, just because, I need to really focus on making the connections. And I feel like I'm doing okay at posting things online because I'm kind of planning that out and getting my hands on that. But having just kind of like a not strict, but more of a structured, like, plan of what I need to get done, and then leaving other things or putting other things, like, on my secondary list and doing those if I have other time to work on, if I want to dedicate other time to work on it.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I think setting a timer will be helpful for you. If you like the structure, I think just go and say, okay, right now I'm going to be doing PD, and give yourself 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be more than that. And set that timer. And right now, okay, I'm going to do my invites, and I'm going to get as many as I can done in 15 minutes. And that's going to be your thing. And then even if you're, like, only got 5, through 4 to 5 in, and you're like, your goal is 20, like, okay, whatever. If you have time later and you want to dive back in, cool. But, like, give yourself those boundaries and know that, like, there's always tomorrow. And if you don't get it done today, your life's not going to be over, But I think having that consistency every day and working that up will give you, like, a really good grounding, feeling like, okay, like, I can do this. I can do this hour or these 2 power pockets of 30 minutes and make it work for me.
Yeah.
Cool. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
So for me, mine right now is, like, consistency and scheduling, because the moment that I have, like, one thing go out of whack, which I very obviously did the last week or so, everything else just kind of comes crumbling down, because I can get really, really into scheduling and making all this, like, perfectly laid out. And then if something comes at me that I wasn't expecting, or I have to take something else off the table, like I've not been able to work out for the last week, it really discourages me. And then I feel overwhelmed by, like, oh, well, if I can't do that, then how can I coach these people? And, I start to get in my own head quite a bit. And then, of course, I want to be an expert right away at everything. So, like, I'm frustrated that I'm not. But actually, I think I just want to piggyback on what Rebecca was saying, is having the breakdown into, like, 15-minute segments and making those very manageable, even when everything else might be kind of out of whack for me, makes it seem like, I can put little check marks next to them. So I feel a sense of accomplishment, despite the fact that I'm feeling, frustrated in other aspects of my life. So yeah, getting a scheduling down to where I let myself, set those boundaries, which I'm really bad at doing. I'll just work late into the night or whenever I have a spare minute, as opposed to, like, scheduling it into my day and making it intentional. That's going to be a huge game changer for me, and something that I knew I needed to do, but it's just really nice to have it laid out so cleanly.
Yeah. So. I love that. And I'm glad that that's resonating. And I want to empower you to use what you're experiencing right now. Like, obviously you don't have to, like, go into sharing, like, the ins and outs of what you've been going through until you are ready, or if you are ready. But when even just the non-working out stuff and the feeling frustrated by that, share that, like, talk about that social media, and talk about that in our challenge groups, like, and give yourself grace for that, and do PD because you need to. But like,
Seriously.
that's part of being a human being, right? Is going through that. And that's something that someone else is going to be able to relate to and go like, oh my gosh, she's being so real right now. She's not a fitness robot. Like, she's somebody who actually like goes through this stuff and is being honest about it. Like, that's where you build the connections. It's through vulnerability. It's through sharing the stuff that's hard to share. And it's okay if you're not like, if you don't have it all figured out either, right? It's just about being yourself and accepting that that is 100% okay and worthy. I believe that, and I know you believe that deep down too, but it's hard to see that sometimes. And so I just want to remind you that like, that's strength, and that is like a beautiful thing to share. So talk about that and share those things, and just be open and give yourself grace and kindness. It's like the motto.
I've been trying.
Motto I want you to take on for this week is grace and kindness. And listen to your body, because you don't want to like fuck it up by pushing yourself, right? Like you need to listen to that. That's part of being a good health coach, is knowing when to stop, right? And knowing when to listen. So I love that. All right. So mine is, where am I falling short on my goals? I'm not direct inviting enough. Like I feel like I will have these great conversations, but I won't actually always put out like the invite. And I have really big ass goals for our team this year, and for myself, and financially, and everything. And so I know I need to be doing that more, and I'm holding myself back. Why am I holding myself back? Because I am nervous about, I still feel like who am I that like people want to sign up with me? And so it's still my like limiting belief that I'm not a good enough coach. And also that I am getting sucked into the Insta vortex of just like constantly scrolling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be way more intentional. I'm going to re-up my Streak usage, because the past 2 months I have not been implementing Streak, which is the Gmail add-on. I know we talked about it last call, Natasha, which was super helpful. And Anna went over all of it on that call. If you haven't watched it yet, make sure you do. But it's a great, great tool, and one that I have just kind of been putting to the wayside the last 2 months, and just been using pen to paper, and I feel my anxiety boiling up about it. So I'm intentionally setting time tomorrow to transfer everything back over to Streak from there, make sure I have all of my contacts and my follow-ups there, so that I can intentionally and start inviting the ABD session and feel really good about that process. So that is where I am at on that end. So awesome. Yeah, that's really what I wanted to dive into with you guys. And that's perfect, because it was like 40 minutes, not too long. But since I did have this for an hour, if you guys have any questions or anything you guys want to just like touch on directly that you feel comfortable sharing, it's going to get recorded. Obviously this is being recorded, so just know that. But yeah, like this is your forum. I want you guys to like, you guys took the time out of your day to be here live. So any questions you guys have, or anything you want to work through with me, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. If not, we can go about and enjoy the rest of our Sundays. That's okay too.
Can I ask one more time? I know I messaged you about this, but I still don't know if I understand completely. So when we get, when we do things, we get our commissions, we sell things, our Shakeology ends up being paid for like in some secret back room, or like money comes into our account and then
we earn money for all the commissions. So like the very first thing that my goal was to get like my Shakeology paid off. Right. You know, not paid for, but it's paid off. So like I never paid for my Shako, because I got Success Club and I sold 3 challenge my very first month. Okay.
So money will like go into your account from the commissions you made, and then like you're charged for your Shakeology.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
No, there's no wrong questions. There's no weird questions.
No, there's so much to learn, especially in your first few months too. Like that was my question too. And then when I realized the way that it was working, I was like, okay, that makes sense. So yeah. I was on the same board, on the same page like a week ago. So yeah, no worries, but so many things to learn all at once.
Not all at once, because you have like forever to figure it out. Yeah.
I tried to do it all at once. It's not working very well.
Us right now. It's real. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to touch on?
No, I'm feeling really good. And like, this is a helpful reset for me. And like, I really appreciate sharing all that information from the call that you had. So
Yeah, you
Yeah,
guys. I mean, she's so cool. And seriously, like the 5-second rule is a game changer. If you guys aren't reading it, I highly, highly recommend. And you can always pop into our group and share your takeaways in there too if you want to. But yeah, awesome. Thank you guys for hopping on live. For all of you guys watching the recording, share what we just shared in the comments below in our group. And that way we can work through them too and really, really show up for the rest of this month with intention. We're not even halfway done March. There is so much time to make the shit you have and your goals you have in your brain happen. So do the work, put these tools to work and make it happen. I believe in you. The rest of the team believes in you. So let's dive in and kill it. Okay. Yay.